On 24 November, the 8th Army launches its all-out assault. Forward elements of the Marines reach Udam. Suddenly and without warning, the Chinese attack. They check the 8th Army advance and block the 10th Corps at Udam. But the 8th Army's right flank receives the heaviest blow. It disintegrates, and Chinese sweep south in overwhelming numbers. Elements of the 3rd deployed to protect 10th Corps' exposed western flank. As for the Marines at Udam, it's no longer a question of advancing. Completely surrounded, they hold their position. Elements of the 7th Division on the right flank of the Marines are not so fortunate. Overwhelmingly outnumbered, they are driven back and trapped on the east side of the Chosin Reservoir. In desperate fighting, these heavily depleted units withdraw to Hagaru. The Marines also receive orders to pull back to Hagaru. They have to fight their way back in the bitter cold of the Korean winter which has enveloped the front. Under continuous fire from the Chinese, they find little time to rest or warm themselves. Close support by the Air Force and Marine Air Wing helps balance the power for the UN. After the initial surprise assault, they keep the Chinese from massing for a major attack against the 10th Corps. Planes of the Combat Cargo Command also play an important role. Without regular airdrops of ammunition and essential supplies, it would be difficult for any of the encircled units to get out. The Marines finally reach Hagaru. It takes them 5 cold, bloody days and nights of fighting. But Hagaru is also surrounded, and fighting continues, mostly at night. In the daytime, planes take over, pinning the enemy to the hills. The C-47 landing strip, started when Hagaru was first taken, is placed in operation. A steady stream of planes brings in supplies and takes out wounded and cold weather casualties. With Hagaru only 20 minutes by air from Hungnam and only 4 hours from Japan, the mortality rate, even among the seriously wounded, is surprisingly low. As the tactical situation develops, the command decides to concentrate troops in the Hungnam area to form a stronger and more effective fighting force. The 3rd Division is ordered up from the south. The 7th Division and 1st Rock Corps are ordered down from the north. At the same time, a task force made up of units of the 3rd is sent to open the Hagaru-Hamhung Road for Corps troops trapped in the reservoir region. The task force starts toward Koto. Other elements of the Corps deploy in the mountains east and west of the rescue road to hold back the main body of Chinese. Opening the road is slow work. Roadblocks have to be removed. The Chinese must be driven out of the hills on either side, and once the road is cleared, it must be held open. As the task force works its way north, fighting continues at Hagaru. Anything that might be of use to the enemy is destroyed. Marines and elements of the 7th Infantry Division that managed to escape the red trap around the reservoir start south toward Hungnam. Flank and advance guards moved to the sides and ahead of the main body of troops to drive back the Chinese. The huge column of men and equipment moves slowly. Often it must stop in the cold, sometimes for hours while engineers repair the road. At this time, General MacArthur visits Yangpo to confer with his combat commanders. As a result of this conference, the UN commander orders the 10th Corps to withdraw from northeast Korea, and an evacuation area is prepared around Hamhung and the port of Hungnam. The defense perimeter is established as each infantry division, and the Rock Corps is assigned a sector. During the day, troops patrol the area in front of their forward positions. At night, they withdraw to prepare defensive positions within the inner perimeter. All the artillery of the 10th Corps is concentrated on the beach. Coordinated with guns of warships in the harbor, it provides a curtain of steel for the entire perimeter. With the problem of defense solved, the Corps Command turns its attention to the problem of evacuation. Before a method is decided upon, every available means is considered. Overland is found impractical due to the poor roads and the distance involved. Because of the limited number of planes available, a mass air evacuation is also held to be impractical. Evacuation by sea is the logical means. Already a number of vessels are in the harbor. More can be diverted from other Korean ports and from Japan. Busan, the destination of the 10th Corps, is little more than a 24-hour trip by sea. The Navy is confident that by utilizing turnaround shipping, enough will be available to complete the evacuation. Back in the mountains, Corps troops have reached Koto, a regimental position below Hagaru. But their stop here is brief. Within a few hours, they begin breaking camp and prepare to start down through the mountains to Hungnam. The small airstrip at Koto can handle only light aircraft. These are used to evacuate the wounded and serious cold weather casualties. Finally, the column starts down the last icy stretch of mountain road that separates it from Hamhung. Security forces drive the communists away from the road. But a few miles outside of Koto, where the road crosses the face of a steep cliff, the Reds have destroyed a vital bridge. Within a matter of hours, the Combat Cargo Command is preparing to send a new bridge by air. A short time later, 8 C-119s, each carrying a span of the bridge, are over the column. The 16-ton bridge is dropped, the first time an airdrop of a complete bridge has been attempted in combat. A few hours later, the column is again on the move. At Hungnam, the work to build up and strengthen the defense perimeter continues. With the road held open, the column moves faster. In less than a day, leading elements are out of the mountains and approaching Hamhung. Camps have been set up in the port area. With dock facilities limited, a landing craft shuttle service has been established to carry troops to the ships in the harbor. The wounded that were not flown out earlier are the first to be evacuated. Troops come next. The evacuation is carefully timed. There is a minimum of waiting. When troops arrive at the docks, landing craft are ready to take them aboard. Organizational equipment follows. The amount of equipment being brought out is evidence of how completely the situation is under control during the withdrawal. 10th Corps units have been ordered to bring out everything. They are doing just that. Nothing is left behind unless it is completely useless. For 3 days, troops continue to pour into Ham Hung. Elements of the 3rd Division keep the road open. With the boarding of the last Marine combat troops, the Corps Control Group in charge of loading turns attention to huge stockpiles of fuel and supplies that jam the port. North Korean civilians are called in to help. Following the plan of evacuation, the rocks are pulled from the perimeter and outloaded. Many rock units have been taken out earlier from ports further north. As the evacuation progresses, fighting around the perimeter continues. Demolition squads lay explosives throughout the city. The perimeter tightens. Yangpo Airfield on the edge of the city is abandoned. The 7th Division is the next to board ship. Again, the perimeter tightens. Big guns of the fleet continue to pound the Chinese in the hills. As the evacuation nears its final phase, thousands of North Korean refugees swarm into the area, hoping to be taken out with the troops. As many as possible are evacuated. Demolition squads destroy everything that might be useful to the enemy. Finally, the 3rd Division begins to move out. The perimeter shrinks to a beachhead, held by one lone battalion. Warships cover their withdrawal. Tons of explosives have been placed around the remaining buildings, piers, and other installations of the port. The day before Christmas, the last battalion of the 3rd Division is evacuated, and what remains of Hungnam is abandoned to the enemy. After the last boat leaves shore, the order is given and the entire port blown up. Warships shell what remains of the city. Within 2 weeks from the time it was ordered, evacuation of the 10th Corps is completed. Over 200,000 troops and refugees have been evacuated, and along with them, 350,000 tons of supplies and equipment, and 17,000 vehicles of every kind. Not only has this huge UN fighting force been evacuated intact, but within 7 days, 10th Corps units are again battling the enemy in Central Korea.